Alright, today I'm going to do an unboxing and assembly of some racks from Big Time Pyro. I got them at bigtimepyro.com. These are kind of an open style rack, as I like to call them, where they don't have an enclosed square tube. You'll kind of see there's a basically an angle iron that is used to attach your comets or mines to, and they're open so you can fit any size tube in there pretty easily, which is pretty convenient. And at the same time, I'm going to go ahead and mount a Cobra rack, 36 rack to it. Kind of matches up pretty good. These are 40 count racks, so a 36 slat matches up pretty decently. It gives you a couple of spare cues if you want to shoot two at a time. But believe it or not, in that box there's 3 of the 40 racks, and clearly some assembly is required. Packing list, hardware, you can see it's just consists of threaded rod, some spacers, and these little angle iron pieces are actually what you'll mount your Comet to once they get assembled into the rest of the system here. But yeah, that's 340 racks in there. I've done some 20s before. It's like putting together an erection. Last component of the, I guess I'll call them the rails, but these basically are where the threaded rod goes through, spacer in between each rail, and you also just slip the angle iron pieces here, and this is what will actually pivot, and you mount the comets to these vertical pieces at any angle that you want, and zip tie them through this top hole, which we'll get to later. Spacers in here. Rails, I mean. That's it, empty box. Pretty detailed, I'll call it engineering diagram, which basically shows how this thing's assembled. You can kind of see how the pieces fit together over here. A couple of detailed shots on, where the washers go and the nuts, and how the nut is used to kind of lock the thing into place on the double side of one end. Everything you need. Just one thing I remembered from putting together the 20s, the rails have pre-drilled holes in them for the threaded rod, which is ideal, of course, but the holes are not drilled exactly on the center line. So when you assemble them, you just need to make sure that you have them all aligned the same way. So where the hole is basically all aligned where you can keep the threaded rod on the same distance from the floor. It will actually go together the other way as well. You can flip this around. You can kind of see that won't be lined up with that hole. It'll still work, but you'll notice that that particular rail will not be sitting on the ground like the other one. So just remember, when you're putting them together, line them up all the same way so they don't have an offset when you're trying to lay them flat up against the floor. The one other thing that I chose to do last time is when you actually decide which way to do it, I had this orientated where the bottom has the large space here, that this will be resting on the floor, versus the other way around, because it just allows the little angle irons that you mount your comments and mine too, to pivot down as far as you want. You can actually go pretty much flat because you have enough clearance in this direction to go whatever way you want. If you do it the other way, which will actually work, once you get to about here, you can kind of see that the bottom tip of the angle iron is actually starting to hit the ground. So that doesn't happen as long as you do it with that orientation right here, which will work for pretty much any situation. So just keep that in mind when you start laying them out. Save you some problems later on. Alright, so for each rack, it's going to be 5 of these rails, 5 threaded rods, 20 spacers, and 40 little angle irons for each one. And you really just have to follow the diagram. The diagram is pretty precise as far as where the rod goes, where the washers go, etc., etc., etc. And you know, you just start on one end and keep on going. And the orientation of each one of these angle iron mounts for the comets are specified. I did exactly what I told you not to do, but I think I'm on the first one. I'm just going to flip this over, if I can keep this thing right, because now I got the bigger space below the bolt, which is, I believe, the preferred method. Now I got to switch these guys around. See the assembled, it's pretty neat. It's got 40 posts. You kind of see the washers basically around each spacer. These are pretty easy to move. And I don't know, it probably took about, I think about 20 minutes really. So it's not too bad. And I'll go ahead and show you how you mount one of the comets in this. Pretty. So when I'm mounting these, after I fuse them up, which I'm not going to do, I use they have drilled holes on the angle, slip a zip tie in there, and get it down as tight as you can. But I push it down up against the spacer rail, it kind of gets tight. And my personal preference is I stick another one on the bottom and just go outside the whole thing, and it just keeps the bottom secure too, and it's really tight. I had no problems, and when they're actually firing. They stay in position and they created a pretty decent effect. Clean up the zip ties, toss the trash out, and it's ready to go. And you know, once you kind of get to the point where you're finalizing your setup and you want to do your angle, you know, if it's loose enough, you set it to whatever degree you want. Bear down on this to tighten it up, and it's locked in. And they work pretty good. They're easy to adjust, pretty quick. I don't have no problem with it. They work good in my 20s. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Cobra slat. What I'm going to do with the other ones, I have some aluminum angle iron here, and I'm going to drill some holes in it, match up with the bolt hole pattern here, mount that up front, and tighten it back down, and then I'll have the Cobra slat sitting on in front. So the slat's going to sit like this when it's done, and it'll be permanently mounted, so you can pre-wire this whole rack and just plug it in when it's time for setup in the field. What I have, it's a 1.5 inch aluminum angle iron. I got it at Lowe's, and I'm just going to use the exact pattern that's on the rail to match up where I'm going to drill my holes, and that way I can just use the same exact pattern and it'll slip on the end after I drill them. This is one of the rails from the kit. Just drill that and cut that and be ready to go. Alright, so I have my holes drilled out, matching the all thread positioning, and just going to go ahead and take these nuts off and slip that bracket on. Alright, so mark a couple of holes for this slat. Clearance just seem to open up pretty easily. I know this little ledge is really not very wide, but I have done it this way before. As long as you don't bear down on it, it's pretty good. If you step on it, you're probably going to bend your housing for your slat. That's it. Ready to go? Wire it up. Before you go out in the field, plug and play. Good to go. It's I like these. I have both these and the tube style. You know, they both have their good points and their bad points. There's a lot of good points to this. It's very flexible. It stores well. It's reasonably priced. And like I said, BigTimePyro.com. I recommend him. The guy's good. Chad Martin is the owner and operator, and he's treated me well every time. And I've asked him for assistance. So, you know, I recommend give him a shot if you plan on doing some racks. The other style are great too, but these really work well for a variety of products. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.